Your goal when watching this video is to be able to use proportions to solve percent problems. Okay, so the proportion that we are going to use to solve all of these problems looks like this. And it looks kind of complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward and it makes common sense. A percent is a number out of 100. So this letter P represents the percent. If you have 36%, P is 36. If you have 25%, P is 25. If you have 8%, P is 8. All right, then over here, we have the actual amount. So on a test, maybe you get 80% on a test. Does that mean that there were actually 100 questions and you answered the 80 of them correctly? Not necessarily, all right? So this number is the whole amount. Maybe on the test, maybe it was an exit quiz, maybe there were only 5 questions, all right? And maybe you answered 4 of them correctly. So here we'd be saying, out of the total on the test, or the whole amount on the test, there were 5 questions, how many did you get right? You got 4, so 4 is the part. The part of the whole amount. You got 4 out of 5 questions correctly. What would that equal out of 100? W stands for whole, or total. That makes sense, right? P over here stands for percent, written as a fraction over 100. And A is the part that you got correct, or A is the partial amount. However, we already used the letter P over here, so they can't use the letter P again. So you just have to remember that A is the part of the total that you got correct. This is going to make a lot more sense after we work out a few examples. Okay, and I should throw out there that some of you can solve these 3 problems that you see a different way. I want you to understand how to solve them using a proportion, so you at least have that in your mind as something you can do, even if it's not what you actually end up doing if you need to do this in life. All right, so let's look at this first example. What percent of 15 is 12? First thing I want to highlight is the question asked, what percent? Your answer is going to be a percent. So if you don't have a percent sign behind your answer at the end, it's going to be wrong. What percent of 15 is 12? So we're trying to find the percent. This letter P is what we're trying to find, so that's going to be our variable. We don't know it. It's what we're trying to find. All right, then we have to figure out what is the part and what is the whole. All right, so let's say this is a quiz. What percent of 15 questions is 12 questions? So which is the total? 15. 15 is the total number of questions. The total or the whole will not always be the bigger number. You just have to use common sense, read the question. Usually if it says of in front of it, usually it's the total. All right, so what percent of 15 or what part of 15 is 12? 12 is the part, represented by the letter A. So 12 out of 15 equals 1 over 100. There are a few ways to do this. You could look for a shortcut and say, does 15 go into 100 nicely? All right, does it go into 100 4 times or 5 times or 6 times? It doesn't. So that's not a super great shortcut for this one, okay? Because you'd have to multiply 15 times a fraction or a decimal to get 100. But we do know that cross products of 2 fractions that are equal, like we have here, or 2 ratios that are equal, or we could just call this whole thing a proportion. The 2 fractions that are equal, or the 2 ratios that are equal, their cross products are also equal. So this times this, 15 times P, has to be equal to 12 times 100, which is 1,200 or 1,200. Hope this comment is for you. She knows what I'm talking about. All right, so then to find out what this missing amount is, we would need to get the variable alone. So we have 15 times P. Do the same thing to both sides. They multiplied by 15, we'll divide by 15. 15 divided by 15 is 1. P equals 80. Remember though, that 80 is what goes right here. All right, 80 out of 100. And the question asks what percent. So you can't just write 80. You have to write 80% because the question asked for the percent. Let's move on to this one right here. All right, as I read, what number is 36% of 50? What number? So that one at the end, should it have a percent sign? Nope, it doesn't say what percent, it says what number. We're trying to find just a number, not a percent. Is 36%. Okay, here's the easy one. All right, 36% means 36 out of 100. So P is 36. All right, we just filled in this number right here. That's the percent written as a fraction. All right, of 50. What number is that this big of a part of 50? So then there's my clue word, my of again. Of is my whole amount. So there's a test, a mid-chapter test, 50 questions. All right, you got 36%. How many out of 50 did you actually get correct? So we don't know the part. All right, that's what number. What number is 36% of 50? There are a couple ways to solve this. If you see the shortcut, awesome. All right, 50 to 100 is multiplied by 2. So this missing number is whatever multiplied by 2 is 36. So if you do the shortcut, we know that A, or the missing number, has to be 18 because 18 times 2 is 36. However, if you don't see the shortcut, and you're more of an equation kind of person, we know that two things that are equal will have cross products that are equal. So 50 times 36, which is 1,800, has to be equal to A times 100, which is 100A. You could have switched it around. You could have written 100A equals 1,800. Doesn't matter. Either way, you are going to get the variable alone by dividing both sides by 100. 100 divided by 100 is 1A. So 1A equals 1,800 divided by 100, which is, again, same answer as if you use the shortcut, 18. Not 18%, just 18. So here we'd say 18 is 36% of 50. 18 out of 50 on the test would give you a 36%. Last one. All right, 150% of what number is 24? All right, again, what number, not what percent. Your answer for this should not be a percent. Your answer for this is a number. So there's my percent. You put a red X through it because we don't want a percent. We just want a number. I'm going to fill in my percent proportion. They give us the percent. All right, so this is more than 100%. So P, my percent would be 150 out of 100. All right. Of what number is 24? So remember, what follows of is usually the total. 150% of what number is 24? We don't know the total. All right, so I'm going to leave that right there because we don't know. 24 is the part. So now we could look for a shortcut. We could say, does 24 go into 150 easily, like 24 times 5 or 24 times 6? Do they give you 150? It's times a decimal. So it's not ideal to use a shortcut for. But again, two fractions or ratios that are equal are going to have equal cross products. So 150W has to be equal to 24 times 100, which is 2,400. Get W alone. And I have W equals whatever 2,400 divided by 150 is, which is 16. And by the way, that's 16, not percent, just plain old 16. So 150%, so more than 100%, more than all of 16 is 24, and that makes sense. More than 100% of a number is more than the number itself.